My name is Chris Nugent. I teach 5th and 6th grade at Fulton School in Dubuque, Iowa. I teach all subjects all day long, and I've been teaching here for about 13 years.
I'm John Smith. I teach 5th, 6th grade multi-cat, and this is my second year of teaching here at Fulton School in Dubuque.
The activity that we're doing today is based on basketball and professional basketball, which hopefully gets the students interested in statistics. We just finished a unit with Skittles where the students worked with mean, median, mode, graphing percentages and things with a bag of Skittles. And as they went through the activity, I noticed that they really didn't grasp the concept and needed more practice. So I wanted something that would keep their interest but also work on those same skills. So we decided to do professional basketball. The objective for today's activity fits with the standards for our school district as well as with the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. But they're specifically, students will compute percentages. I purposely didn't use 10 shots, I used 8 shots, so the students would have to actually do the dividing, the number of shots divided by the total. The second objective is students will compute mean, median, and mode with their shots as well as with the professional basketball players' shot percentages. Another objective is students will make graphs on the computer so that they'll have to use software for that. There's also writing objectives. Students will clearly write about mathematics and explain their thinking, as well as students will be able to work in teams and include everyone in activities.
One of the things we really work on is having kids apply what they're doing in school to real-life situations. So the idea of looking at actual statistics on the internet and talking about how teams would use those statistics makes it mean something more than just numbers on a piece of paper for the students.
In my classroom, students are assessed in a variety of ways. This activity's main assessment is the letter that they will write to the NBA players and email. The letter will be assessed using a rubric that was built by the students in the classroom. At a later date, students will also do a quiz or a test where they will be given professional basketball player data and have to compute percentages and make a chart and do mean, median, and mode for a given set of data, and will be assessed on that test as well. Their worksheets are also a type of assessment. The worksheets will be handed in, and I will look at those to see if they were following the procedures, completing them, and doing things correctly. Fulton School is an expeditionary learning school. Expeditionary learning is a national school reform movement that's based on Outward Bound and 10 principles of learning. Students are responsible for their own learning in class. I have students working in groups. It's their responsibility to come up with the answers. I don't give them the answers. I do a lot of questioning, trying to get them to come up with their own answers. We do a lot of cooperative learning where students are helping each other. Students have a lot of choice in what they're doing. They chose the rubric, they wrote the rubric, they shot the baskets. It's their own thinking that's going on in the classroom today.
We used a number of different technologies, mainly related to computer. We did project several things so that they'd be visible to the whole class. We made the rubric on Microsoft Word and projected it with a LCD projector. We also used the projector to show students how to find the internet sites and how to navigate through those. The computers were also used with internet hookups in 5 different locations for students to do research to find statistics on their teams using the internet sites that we had bookmarked for them. We also had students typing on AlphaSmarts, and then they downloaded those into either Microsoft Word or directly into email, and those letters were emailed to members of their basketball teams that they had chosen or to the teams themselves, so that students will be expecting hopefully some responses from those teams. So we used a number of different technologies.
We used a variety of teaching strategies throughout this activity. First of all, as a whole group, I did a lecture format on how to get to the activity, how to do the activity. I also had the students using strategies like pair share. Go ahead and work with a partner, tell that partner what the direction is, so I'm sure everybody understands the direction. We worked in small groups, used cooperative learning so that all students were included. Within my classroom, we have a number of special needs students that need support not only from myself and Mr. Smith, but also a lot of peer help. So cooperative learning helps them to feel part of the group with still receiving support.
As a multi-cat teacher, my students that are also in this classroom spend a lot of time here. We do as little pull-out as we possibly can, and that gives students a chance to work together. That gives opportunities for peer teaching and for peer tutoring. It gives students who have a strength in one area an opportunity to display that to their classmates, even if they have weaknesses in other areas. So working together, working as a team, everybody has a job, is critical, because every student has strengths, every student has capabilities, and capitalizing, teaching to their strengths helps them to be challenged and to be effective in the areas of their weaknesses also.
At Fulton, we loop, so I have the same kids in 5th grade as I do in 6th. This is so important because I know the students so well, their strengths, their weaknesses, and that knowledge helps me to structure activities such as the one today. First of all, I divided students up into groups of 3 rather than 4. Groups of 3 allow the students each to have a job, each to be helping each other. Once you get to 4, they tend to partner up in 2s and 2s, and they lose the group situation. It becomes more of a partner situation. So I chose to use groups of 3. Also, when I divided the jobs, I built on their strengths.
One of the things we talked about with the students early in 5th grade, and it was essentially the same group because we loop with them, was about the intelligences and how different people have different strengths. Some in music, some in nature, some in manipulating things, some in thinking about things, some in various areas. And not only is it important for the students to know those strengths and weaknesses for themselves, but it's also important for the teachers to use those strengths, to know them, their students well enough to use their strengths so that when we structure activities, we give them an opportunity to get at one of the other areas through one of their strength areas.
Classroom management is how I spend most of my day. I use a variety of classroom management strategies. One of the things that I do is to use proximity. If a kid is misbehaving, I tend to walk over, put a hand on their arm, so they know that I'm there and that they need to get back on task. I also use a lot of positive praise. If I see a kid that's misbehaving, what do they want? They want attention, so I'm not going to call them out in front of the whole class and give them the attention they want. I'm going to call the person sitting next to them and give them a positive comment and then glare at the person that's making the bad behavior choices and hopefully get them back on task that way. I also structure activities so that I think of things ahead of time. How is this going to cause a problem? What can I do so this isn't a problem? I divide my groups up so that students that might be problems together are not working together. I give clear directions and clear expectations. We talked a lot in the activity about what should this look like? What should I see? What shouldn't I see? How can I tell if you're on task? I also do things where we have signals. When I shut the lights off, the kids know to be quiet. I give them clear directions. You have 5 seconds to get back to your desks. Maybe letting one group at a time go to computers instead of saying everybody go to computers. Also things like I have students that are on behavior charts. Individual behavior charts helps to manage the classroom. To think about student needs, not all students are the same, and different students require different things, and trying to give students choice and power in making decisions in the classroom. Students add, subtract, multiply, and divide for purposes, so they can see why they would use those things. Students apply mean, median, and mode and compare statistics in real-life situations so they can see why those skills are important. Teaching elementary mathematics isn't about memorizing algorithms. It's about applying concepts to real-life situations, and that's the most important thing I try to do with my students.